The VAR Show. The one place for your weekly football update.
Hola, a very warm welcome to the VAR show, the show which talks about all the various major football leagues in detail. Today, we are going to continue the theme of interviews. We have former Manchester United and Premier League legend Mr. Dwight Yorke with us. So, without wasting much time, I would like to first thank Dwight for coming on the show. Thank you so much and welcome to the show. And I would like to begin by asking you, how are you and what are you doing during this pandemic period?
Well, thank you. I'm doing great. We are in a very unusual situation here, and obviously with this pandemic, there's a lot of uncertainty at the moment. But so far we're doing okay. Everyone is well, and I hope that you guys over there are doing well as well.
Yeah, we are doing well as of now. So we'll move on to a lighter topic, that is football, in comparison to what's happening all around the world. And for you, I'll talk about your playing career starting from, Signal Hill Comprehensive School in your home country to being one of the best foreign players to grace the English game. How has the journey been for you?
Well, it's a journey that is a bit unknown. I didn't quite sure what to expect. Obviously, as a kid growing up, you always dream of being a professional footballer. So my dream was like everyone else, I suppose. But I was very fortunate and very lucky at the time to make that transition from the Caribbean and given an opportunity to go to Aston Villa, which is where I spent 10 years as a player and developed my skills from there on.
So definitely there's been one very fruitful journey for you. And I'll move on to your most prolific season and most prolific time with the club, that is United. Your first season at United was very, very deadly. You scored 29 goals in 51 games, in the process winning a treble. You also awarded the Premier League Player of the Year. How was the feeling for you?
Well, that is the ultimate. Let me refer back to 10 years at Aston Villa. It was a learning curve at Aston Villa. I was still in my team. I had 10 fruitful years there that I was sort of developing, or my football education, I call it. I was learning what professionalism was all about, applying my trade, learning from senior members in the team, and getting stronger and fitter. I was new to the whole professional game. I didn't know what professionalism was all about. I learned that along the way and having to develop my skills. So 10 years has given me a great length of time in terms of developing my skills. So before I made that transition to Manchester United, I had 10 years in England growing up, learning and developing and understanding the determination of being a professional footballer, what it takes, the challenges ahead in terms of the weather, the food, the people, the culture, the system, the work ethic. All of those things I endure as my time at Aston Villa. So then by the time I went to Manchester United, I was ready and prepared for the challenge ahead, being at such a big club. But undoubtedly, the reason I left Aston Villa, because I love Aston Villa as a player, but after 10 years, I feel that I needed a new challenge, a challenge that I probably would not have gotten anywhere else but Manchester United. And of course, in my first year, as you mentioned, to have scored, 29 goals, 23 assists, and obviously to be the player of the year in such a unique and most of all, the most historical moment in the history of Manchester United Football Club to this day. To be part of that system, obviously, was fantastic.
Definitely. So our next question is from one of our listeners. When I had said that Dwight Yorke is coming, I was flooded with all the United fans. They're like, no, take my question. So it is from Chitransh Kumar. Okay, he asks us what was your reaction when Solskjaer scored the goal in the final of the Champions League?
Nah, it was obviously it was the ultimate, because we had been on such a journey as a team and of course, everybody within the squad had played a part. And when there was called upon, so the fact that we won the Premier League and then obviously won the FA Cup and on to Barcelona that night, there was a good mood, there was a good team spirit surrounding us. We were full of confidence. We felt that we were trying to create history, a history that never been done in English football, and we wanted to be the first to have done that. The fact that we were also losing two of our influential players, our captain in Roy Keane and Paul Scholes, two of the finest midfielder in world football. So to have lost those two players and the players that have come in and replaced those, and the manager having to readjust his team for such a big occasion, it would have been daunting for all of us. We know that we didn't play particularly great on the day, but the fact that we had a belief in the team and the squad, that everyone was sort of so much involved and everyone wanted to play a part, and hence when you see the substitution by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Teddy coming on the field, they make a huge difference, even though it wasn't a long time for them, but it was certainly, it was worth waiting for to see those two players coming on and making the impact that they did. But the goal that Ole scores, obviously, that's the ultimate, and that was the historical moment when Ole scored that goal.
So, like moving on, probably you would have got this question a lot from many of them. How is it working with Sir Alex Ferguson?
He's the greatest. He doesn't name the greatest manager in the history of the Premier League. He did it with style. He did it with an attacking flow of football. He had been there for a number of years. He had built up a dynasty that no other team has been able to overcome. He had built a trust. He had built a system and believe in giving the young players an opportunity in that football club. Having the opportunity to play for such a great manager with great understanding of the game, and ultimately got the best out of the players, the maximum out of his players, week in, week out. He was also a tremendous manager, not just on the football pitch, but he was also off the football pitch. You can connect with him in any form, because us as players, we all have our little issues and problems along the way. And there was always a helping hand on the other side to make sure that, that we will focus continuously in our game. So, yeah, overall, he was just the best manager. He was, from a tactical point of view, was great, and he made you feel 10 foot tall when you walked out on the football pitch. So he had everything that you want in the manager, and most of all, he trusts you to go out and perform, so which was the ultimate. So yeah, they don't come much better than Sir Alex. That's why he's called the boss of all bosses.
So the next question comes from Nitin Varghese, and he has asked that the game when you played has kind of changed a lot, because we do not see like a two-man striker up front nowadays. Like this again, you would have got asked a lot. Like, what do you think of it? Like, what do you think? How has the game changed?
Yeah, the game has changed. System, I think Barcelona is pretty much under Pep Guardiola. It's certainly changed that sort of formation where he started playing with one dominating position in midfield, and very successful at doing it. And so, at a certain time in your managerial or playing career, system dues comes in. You've seen formation change over the years. You've seen a lot of teams are playing with one strikers at the moment. I mean, I didn't mind playing as one striker, but I love the idea of two strikers. I think there is more of an option up top to give defenders to worry about them. So yeah, the game has changed. The game has moved on. I do believe teams that are playing one up top, if they were to play against the team that I played in, with the two strikers, I believe that we would beat that team that played one striker up top most of the time.
So, like talking of two strikers, your partnership with Andy Cole was unbreakable. How did you get along so well?
Well, it's called understanding. We are two great friends on and off the pitch. That helps. We are not the same, because Andy, in my opinion, is a prolific number 9. He likes to run behind the defenders. He likes to make defenders turn and run towards their goal. I was more the link man between the midfield and Cole and Andy Cole and the rest of the strikers. So that gives what you call a combination that complement each other in the sense that Coley goes towards goal, I come towards my teammates. So you kind of confusing defenders all the time, and they couldn't live with us. And so the combination does help. But having said all of that, we have a tremendous team, a tremendous amount of players around us, the likes of Bex and Giggs and Paul Scholes and Roy Keane and Peter Schmeichel and Jaap Stamp and all these wonderful players behind you allows you to express yourself in the forward areas, which there was a lot of balls keep coming into you all the time and constantly. So you always seems to be involved. So it was a great pleasure playing in that system, one that worked for us. We had the correct players, so to speak. We had David Beckham, who can find you from all angles. We got the flying left wing of Ryan Giggs, who can go past defenders and make opportunities for you, with the support of Roy Keane and Paul Scholes, who can score goals equally. So we had an attacking flair, an attacking team that can create and cause damage and can score goal from any angle. So that's going to give you a lot of headache. So yeah, it was a great pleasure playing in that team.
So the next question comes from Ryan Roisha, and he has asked that you are a very, very top class footballer from Trinidad, and you are a hero there. You took them to World Cup too. What is it like when you travel back home there? What is the reception you get?
Well, I mean, I'm obviously well recognized because of my achievement over the years. Since from a very tender age, I represent Trinidad and Tobago at all level. So I've always been in the news from a very young boy growing up. And so, of course, when I made that transition from, high school into professional football, and then obviously gone on to win things at Aston Villa as well as Man United and other various clubs that I played for, then of course your profile is going to lift. And of course, after the treble winning year, and then of course the most ultimate when it comes to Trinidad was to take them to the World Cup in 2006 as a captain. And then to add all on top of that, Brian Lara is my best friend in the world. So I think that comes with what he has done in his own rights and in his sport, really does bring a lot of limelight towards your lifestyle. But yeah, I'm a proud and very patriotic person from Trinidad and Tobago. I love my country, I love my people, and hopefully with what I've done in the game will inspire the young people of the generation and coming up.
So the next question is from Nitin Varghese. He asks is how can football be developed in Trinidad and Tobago, and although we do not have the same profile, and how can it be implemented in places like India or Nepal, because we are almost similar if in terms of football. How can we improve it?
Well, I'm not sure what's the foundation is like in Nepal, but I know from a fact for growing up in the Caribbean, a lot of people talk about cricket, and it has give us a platform to really highlight what the Caribbean is all about. But domestically, football is much more popular among the people. And of course, no one have never made it to the level that I have made it before. So then now a lot of people is looking in the Caribbean. Caribbean has always got a lot of talented footballers, but just never had the platform, or no one has been able to go on and sort of become a professional footballer and make it to the level. So they never get any recognition from it. But whereas cricket, as everyone knows, that was the number one sports, a sports that was on TV and from an international level. It's gotten recognition from the 70s and the 60s and 70s and 80s when West Indies was dominating the cricketing world at that particular time. But football has always been huge in our country. And then hopefully now that I've made it alongside a couple of other players like Shaka and Stern John and those guys, Russell Ladapi, those guys have also make it on international scene out here and give the profile of football a lift in our country. Whereas in Nepal is, for me, you haven't had a breakthrough from an Indian point of view where someone has come over to England and sort of make it out big. And I think that is probably missing in your part of the world at the moment.
So, moving on from that, our next comes from a diehard United fan, like most of the other ones. It is from Rocky, and this might put you in a little bit difficult position because he has asked which of your teammate was the best during your days at United in terms of talent.
Yeah, but that's a usual question. I think it's been out there and it's been sort of well known before. I talked about the great team that I played in, and there was a lot of fantastic players. The Ryan Giggs and David Beckham, and Roy Keane, Yap Stam, Peter Schmeichel, Dennis Irwin, Gary Neville, Andy Cole, Ruud van Nistelrooy. All these guys were fantastic players. But for me, the one that stood out above everyone and the consistency that he continued to show was Paul Scholes. I think Paul Scholes, for me, he had a complete game. He wasn't the best dribbler. He couldn't dribble the football as much as he would love to. But he's intelligent. The way how he creates spaces, the way how he can fizz the ball, he can make those clever passes. And also, on top of that, got an eye for a goal, one of the best striker of the football I've ever come across. So to have that and play, he's not the biggest either, but to create the space and how he see the game and the vision that he has, I would say Paul Scholes is the best one out of the lot.
So, the next question is again from Chitransh. It's like, you have played with Roy Keane as a player and also played under him at Sunderland. How is it working with him in both the capacities?
Well, first, as a player, I wouldn't have anybody else be the captain and the leader on the football pitch. I thought he was tremendous, as well as a fantastic player himself. He led by example. He was a born winner. He knew how to get the best out of you. Even at times when he wasn't particularly playing well, he used to drive you on as a player. So for me, first and foremost, he was an outstanding player. And then obviously when he made the step into management, that didn't surprise me because he has all the attributes, all the star quality of being a manager. And of course, when he went to Sunderland in the Championship, he called me up. I was probably 34 at the time. And he said, listen, I want you to come and join the team, which was a great honor to have the opportunity to play under him. I know him obviously as a player, but didn't see him as a manager. I saw him as a manager, but I had the pleasure to do that as well. And I thought he was tremendous as a manager as well. Unfortunately, he hadn't gone on to hit the level that I thought he would. Even to this day, I thought he could easily be the Manchester United manager, but that wasn't to be for whatever circumstances. But he has all the attributes of not just being a great manager, but he was a fantastic player himself.
So again, the next question will be difficult for you because you've had so much success with so many different clubs and country. If you had to look back and choose one moment from your career which you'll cherish for the rest of your life, which one would that be?
Yeah, that's a very difficult question. For me, it's hard because I've been very blessed. From where I started off, I never thought I would have the opportunity to grace the English league like I did, and to, as you mentioned, to go on and win the trophies that I've won over the years. Being a professional or getting the opportunity to be a professional footballer, that was the ultimate as a professional. But of course, as I said, I've been very lucky enough to have won other trophies along the way. But the treble winning year has to be the greatest moment in my professional career. There is nothing that's the ultimate, to have won all those 3 trophies in one season. Still the only English club to have ever done that. To have the most recognized and the most historical moment in Manchester United history, to be part of that team, it's obviously a huge honor. To play a small part in that team as well, it was a great honor to play under great manager. But having reflected and having said all of that, the 2006 World Cup, qualifying for Germany in 2006, as a captain and as my country, which is only a small country, to get that opportunity to represent on such a huge stage, the biggest stage that you can ever think of in world sport, to have qualified for that, for me, I think that has to go down as the greatest moment in my playing career.
So, after hanging up your boots, with your experience, did you ever consider getting into coaching?
Yeah, I do. I reflect on it a long time. I was very fortunate that after my playing career, I've done some media work. I've done some ambassador role for Manchester United Football Club. In the meantime, I've tried to complete all my coaching badges as well. So I always had one eye and an intention of going into management. And I feel that maybe this is a time I've traveled the world. I've worked as an ambassador. I've worked behind the scene now and seen the adulation and the excitement from the fans from a from a different aspect of things. And now that I do strongly believe that I'm ready for managerial purposes, and I feel that this is the time that I'm ready to get into management.
So coming from Trinidad, what was the most difficult thing for you, like, to making it into a professional?
Well, the thing is, I mean, we are the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, so I didn't really just came from Trinidad. So we are twin islands, so Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, a lot of people talk about Trinidad, but we are. I came from originally from Tobago, so I would never say I come from Trinidad. I came from Trinidad and Tobago, which is what we are known as a country for. So yeah, it was challenging. It was difficult. It was no man's land, so to speak. I didn't know, like I said before, what to expect, and the challenge was in front of you, either to go and be and make something of your life, or to go back into the slum of the Caribbean way of life and live there. So I knew that this was going to be hard and challenging. I was giving up all my friends and family at the time. I was still a minor, but this was something I was desperate for as a young boy, and I wasn't going to let it pass without, fighting 110% for it and giving it my all.
So talking about that, and you are a United legend and an ambassador, as you said. What do you think of the league this year? How disappointed are you that Liverpool are going to win the league this year?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not disappointed. You have to go with the time, and unfortunately, the time for us is not winning the league. I've brought up in the United rank of always wanting to win the league, and the last 4 or 5 years, that hasn't happened. So you're kind of having to readjust your position and start all over again. We know that it was always going to be a difficult transition for anyone who is coming in after Sir Alex Ferguson have left the football club. So that was always going to be challenging. Although we had some success under Jose and certainly Van Gaal, we continue to add to the trophy cabinet as we speak. But in terms of the league and certainly the Champions League, we have not done great in both of those competitions. Something that I'm sure that we are looking to improve in. And of course, one of my ex-teammates is at the helm at Man United now at the moment. So I can only wish him the best and the challenge ahead in trying to get us back to where we belong, which is to win the league and compete in the Champions League. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment.
So what would be the very realistic target for next season for Manchester United?
Well, the realistic opportunity was always to win the league from the very first time. We haven't done that in the last 4 or 5 seasons. I think anybody who is manager at Manchester United Football Club, that's always the ultimate to do that. And I think Ollie, who's been there and as a player and experienced himself, I'm sure he will be setting his standard high to make sure and win the Premier League. But realistically, now as we speak, in terms of the next 9 games that are remaining, is to try and get into that Champions League spot. I think we have a good chance of doing that. And so, I think we all are excited about the league restarting next week. And United has a sort of challenge on their hand to make sure that they qualify for the Champions League, because it would be a failure in my eyes if we not to qualify for the Champions League this year.
So with the career you had, with the experience, at club level and the national level, do you have any words of advice for young players coming up?
Yeah, sure. I think that when you're young, having aspiration of being certainly a professional footballer, I think you have to have certain fundamentals. You have to, one, love the game. You have to be dedicated to the game. You have to have discipline, and you have to be prepared to work extremely hard and go the length of the world to get to achieve your goals. And I think I'm proof to show that a lot of people that, it doesn't matter where you come from. If you have the desire and the discipline and the dedication to accomplish your dreams, you can. And the fact that football has become such a global sport, because back in my time, you needed to be an international player to get into the system in England. Now that there is open up the floodgates, anybody can get in. So it doesn't matter where you are, where you come from. So the opportunity is there for anybody who really wants it, but they have to make serious sacrifice. They're going to be dedicated to their sport. They have to have love for it. And ultimately, you must enjoy what you're doing. It must be fun. If you're not having enjoyment out of the game, then the sport is not for you. But you need certain fundamentals to make it out there. It's not just about ability. It's all about your work ethic, the discipline, the dedications. All of those things will get you a lot further than just ability.
On that note, I'll ask you one final question, Dwight. It's a very, very controversial question. People say it. I do not know whether it's controversial or not. Whom do you prefer, Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo?
Well, listen, I think it's a very simple. A lot of people try to compare the same with Maradona and Pele. We are very lucky that we have these world-class players, what we call geniuses in our sports. And at the moment, we have two geniuses in our sports, in Messi and Ronaldo. I think they're both different. You look at Messi, he is pretty much the idol of Maradona. Left-footed, can play, can do all the stuff that Maradona once did and probably more. In our current day, we got, Ronaldo, who is constantly pushing and working hard. So we got two different type of caliber players, but basically both are world-class players. So it's very difficult. Both have won the Ballon d'Or 5 times, I think it is, and the number of goals that they scored. So for me, it's very hard to pick between these players because they are simply different type of players. I know Cristiano Ronaldo personally, although I've met Messi on numerous occasions. And we are very blessed that we have two outstanding players, world-class players that not too many sports has been able to have. So we are very fortunate, and hopefully you'll be interested to see after these two players retire, who is going to be the number one player in the world. So my idea of trying to separate these two players is very difficult.
Okay, I'll make it easier for you. If you had to choose someone who would play along with you in the striker role, who would that be?
I don't think you make it any easier because, as I said, those two players are great. I like what Messi does, but because Messi is the most talented out of him and Ronaldo. Ronaldo is the most hardworking, but with his talent, he had to work super hard. I think Messi works hard, but he has a natural more talent. So if I were to pay my money and watch, I would probably say I like to watch Messi because of the things he can do with the football. But ideally, I love the way our Ronaldo plays as well.
So on that note,
Okay.
Dwight, thank you so much for talking to me, and I wish you all the best for your coaching role, which you are planning to start. And
Thank
hopefully you can succeed and maybe become the United coach one day. You never know. Best of luck.
That's
Stay safe.
that's the thought. That's the thought right there, man. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.